I came over here from Tasmania, and as many of the speakers have mentioned, it immediately felt like home. Whitley was, at that stage, there were no females here, at least not officially. So there were about 80, 90 students or something like that. So we were pretty small compared with the big colleges around the Crescent. But Whitley very soon, to me, it sort of became the little college that could. And we had a pretty good football team. We did okay. We held our own against the big ones around there and had a lot of fun in the process. As many of the speakers have said today, the thing that sticks with me about Whitley is the collegiality, the camaraderie, and all the nice C words, and that's continued to stick with me ever since. Ever since I'm at the moment, I've been living in Canada for a long time, 30 more years, and had a very interesting life, but always, you come back to memories of Whitley and the good times you had here. Some of the people, and I'm sure Struan is going to tell you all the good stories, okay? Because he was at the heart of most of them, as far as I can remember. But I do remember somebody mentioned that, somebody coming back from Norton's and causing havoc in here, and I can remember sitting in hall one night, all begowned and stuff. Principal Henry Mervyn had invited some dignitary to speak, and it was all going well, and then one of our number staggered back from Norton's, and there wasn't anything, you could just walk straight in, there wasn't anything in the door, in the gateway there. Staggered in and started hurling abuse at everybody in very flowery terms, but I'm aware that there are children here, so I won't repeat it. Mervyn gets to his feet and he says, "Pay no heed to the verbal masturbation," and sat down again. And that's a good phrase that stuck in my memory for a long time. Somebody mentioned the telephones and stuff, but they failed to mention that you have to be very careful taking a call on the phones, because if you stood in the stairwell, somebody would empty a garbage bin of water over the top of you. So you have to sneak around the corner. Anyhow, I digress. Sufficient to say that, it was a fun time, and we had a lot of fun. We did a little bit of work now and again, and most of us managed to get through our degrees and all the rest of it and go on to other things. But it's sad that this chapter is closing, and it's good to know that this place that I knew from an early stage has continued to build the tradition that we've heard about this afternoon. Thanks a lot.
So Whitley started in 1965. It was the age of the baby boomers. There were a hell of a lot of students trying to get into Melbourne University, a hell of a lot trying to get into the colleges. I went up to Ormond College, and the master there, Makaki, took a good look at me and said, look, there's too many young men here from your school already. There's a lovely new college up the road opening. You go up there. And I'm very grateful for his advice, because I really think Whitley did me a lot of good, and far more than being at Ormond with all the guys I've been to school with. So I'm forever grateful to Makaki for that. Okay, so I actually I was probably one of the first students to sleep here, because I came up at the very beginning of the weekend before orientation week, and I was in room 119, but I heard all this noise, and I came outside to see what was going on, and here are about 10 students from Ormond erecting on top of the chapel a huge cricket scoreboard on which they had painted "Christians versus the Lions, starting here shortly," or something. And it was the Age, or the Sun took a photo of it, and it was in the newspaper. And I wasn't going to take them on and throw them out. I thought it was very funny. Anyway, so when we got our football team together, we didn't have a war cry or anything, so I started this thing where we'd say, everybody roar, and we just roar like the Lions. We'd rather be the Lions than the Christians when we're playing football. Okay, so as you probably heard, it was quite a small college. In the first year there are only about 60 rooms ready. All this segment up here, upstairs and downstairs, hadn't been completed. We had about 18 theological students and the rest were humans. But we all got on very well. I was going to tell you another Hicks story. And in fact, John Hicks is here. I didn't recognise him, but he's here. So the Hicks test that you heard about in the chapel, if you were here, was true. The desserts that came out of the kitchen were put on the plates early in the afternoon, and they stuck to the plate. And John Hicks discovered that if you inverted the plate, the dessert didn't fall out. In fact, you could pass it right round the dining hall and it didn't fall out. And if it did that, it was said to have passed the Hicks test. But the other Hicks story I'm going to tell you is that John had, there were only about 5 or 6 cars in the college in the first year, and John had one of them, it was a Morris Minor or something, and so some of his dear friends, we jacked the car up on bricks, so the drive wheels at the back were just not touching the ground. And John eventually came out and gets in his car and starts it up and engages first gear, nothing happens, reverse, nothing happens. He gets out, walks around the car, gets in again. Anyway, eventually we let him into the secret. Yes, the telephones. In fact, I think I was the first person to really bucket somebody. We had an Asian student called Chris Lum, who was a good guy, and I got him one day early in the first term with a bucket of water. I couldn't use the phones after that. He got me 3 times before we eventually called it quits. Thank you very much, and I'm very grateful for my time in Whitley, the friends I made, and the history that the place created. And it's very sad that it's closing, but it's wonderful that we're here to acknowledge it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.